This is Dr. Herbert Harris, and I want to welcome each and every one of you today to our Success Mentorship class number 179. And the interesting thing about this class, it is an absolute demonstration of what the class is about. Let me just tell you what's going on right now. And I think that's why this class is so timely. When we talk about how to overcome worry, how to handle worry and uncertainty. This morning at about 7:15, the power went, the internet service went, and literally everything that we normally do in the mornings, we could not do. And literally, I think we were only about 5 minutes late getting on, handling all the things that had to be handled so that we could do what we had to do today. And if that's not a demonstration of uncertainty, wow. Which takes us to our lesson. This is Success Mentorship class number 179. Our topic for today is how to handle worry and uncertainty. Powerful topic. It's based, of course, on our book, The 12 Universal Laws of Success. And it is available. The book is available on Amazon, on all of the digital websites, and of course, through our own website, herbertharris.com. Now, let's talk business. We love to open with a quote. And I tell you, there's no more appropriate quote than this one. And this is from literally a scientist, John Allen Paulus. And he says that uncertainty is the only thing that is certain. Uncertainty is the only thing that is certain. So let us just look at that for a minute. Uncertainty, what is he really saying? He's really saying that the only thing that is predictable is that life is unpredictable. That there are always going to be moments that you don't know what's happening next. Right now, we're coming out of a pandemic. Some of us are still in this pandemic. And this certainly has been a situation that we did not plan upon. We weren't looking forward to. We didn't contribute to. But it's an experience that we have to go through. So how do we grow through this? How do we come through this? How do we overcome the worry and the uncertainty attendant to this pandemic? Well, let's see. Okay. I want to make sure that we're on the air. Checking connection. This power outage has been really interesting. Okay, let's see what's going on here. Okay. So that's just not happening. Let's just try this one more time because this... Okay. All right. So without the internet on Instagram, sorry about that. We'll proceed on Facebook. The idea of bringing order to worry and uncertainty is a profound one. And one of the things that really prepares us to handle it is our ability to center and to meditate. So let us right now sit straight up in our seats. Take a deep breath. Hold it. Let it out slowly. Take a deep breath. Hold it. Let it out slowly. And in this space of peace and relaxation, we are comfortable, we are rested, and we are at peace with ourselves. I am at peace with myself. Let us say that together. I am at peace with myself. Once more. I am at peace with myself. Take a deep breath. Let it sink in. And in this state of peaceful relaxation, our minds are open, receptive, and ready to learn. My mind is open, receptive, and ready to learn. Let us affirm that together. My mind is open, receptive, and ready to learn. Take a deep breath. Let it out slowly. Wow. Okay. Very, 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 very interesting day. I'm going to try this one more time and see what happens. Well, this topic of how to face uncertainty, how to overcome worry, is a very powerful one because it is something that happens all the time. I'd like to read a little passage from our book, from the 12 Universal Laws of Success. And we're reading from page 107, and it talks about worry. And it says this: worry is a negative state of mind that causes anxiety, distress, and uneasiness. Let me say that again. Worry is a negative state of mind that causes anxiety, distress, and uneasiness. It goes on further to say that worry is a form of continuous fear caused by indecision or uncertainty with respect to the outcome or particular situation, event, or circumstance. So worry is a negative state of mind that is precipitated when we are not sure about the outcome, when we don't know whether that which we're seeking is going to manifest, when we don't know that the things that will happen to us today may not be the things that we expected to happen today. And so when we really look at it, the root cause of worry is really uncertainty. It's just simply not knowing what's going on, not knowing how your life should be or could be going at this particular moment. So I guess the essence of this lesson is, how do you learn to live with uncertainty? Because if you can learn to live with uncertainty, then worry becomes superfluous. When we look at this pandemic, it's like, man, all these things are happening that are out of my control. How do I respond to it? Well, one very, very profound realization is that uncertainty is a part of life. Uncertainty is as integral a part of life as breathing. Where there's life, there's uncertainty. And this kind of makes sense because if there was no uncertainty, if everything was absolutely certain, then there would be no need for faith. If everything was absolutely certain, there'd be no need for hope. So the fact that hope and faith are necessary really is a foundation for the existence of uncertainty. The why of uncertainty is a whole nother lecture, but when I really think about it, uncertainty is an experience that gives us an opportunity to grow, to become something that we were not before, but that we had the potential to be. You know, when we face with challenges, uncertainty, things that, confront us, we either go through it, in which case we keep repeating the same situation, or we grow through it, which means we learn from it and go to another level. So how do we learn to live with uncertainty and eliminate worry from our lives? Step one, first key, don't resist. When we are confronted with challenges and with situations, we can fight it, we can flee it, there's so many things that we can do to avoid dealing with it, to avoid handling it. There's a thought that says, whatever you resist persists. So when we get so involved with the description and the potential uneasiness of a particular outcome to the point that we're worrying, we literally perpetuate the outcome, perpetuate the indecisiveness, the lack of certainty, because we're focusing on it. You know, these laws of success are so powerful because they work absolutely. Whatever you focus on grows. Law of focus. So if you focus on uncertainty, if you focus on worrying about, oh, what may or may not happen, that grows. So the idea of acceptance, in other words, don't resist acceptance. And I'm not saying the type of acceptance, say, well, I can't do anything about it. Acceptance for what is. So when we look at the pandemic, you say, well, you know what? We're in a situation we had not planned for. We never thought would ever happen, but we are still here. And we still have to go forth. And so this idea of acceptance is very powerful because it helps us create a frame of reference, a frame of mind to actually get through this particular situation victoriously. Let's look at there are three aspects of this whole idea of acceptance. Number one is that we make a blanket decision that nothing in life is worth the price of worry. And what we're really saying is that there's always going to be a positive outcome. That worry does not help the situation. In fact, worry undermines the situation. So when we make that blanket decision that we're not going to worry about anything, that whatever there is around us, whatever the situation is right now, that this situation of uncertainty, that we say, hey, that's a part of life. Uncertainty is a part of life, and it's really an opportunity for me to grow. So one, nothing in life is worth the price of worry. Second aspect, to realize that worry doesn't change anything. Real simple. Worry does not change anything. So therefore, if you are stuck on worrying, it's a waste of your time. Because no amount of worrying is going to change the outcome. The third aspect is that most of the things you worry about will not happen. The great French essayist Montaigne said, my life has been filled with terrible misfortunes, most of which never happened. And so when we look at these three aspects, these three realizations, when we look at the idea of accepting what is, so that we can now grow through it, rather than resisting what is, so that we perpetuate the very thing that we're upset about. Blanket decision that nothing is worth the price of worry. Realizing no amount of worry will change things. And then third, that most of the stuff you worry about will not happen. And there was a study once of the amount of anxiety that they were talked about people, you know, how when you work for these companies and you hear the rumor that a certain percentage of people are going to be laid off. The people who were worried about whether they were going to be among that percentage that were going to be laid off suffered more anxiety than the people who knew they were going to be laid off. Okay. The people who knew they were going to be laid off were like, okay, let me figure out my next move. Let me dust off my resume. Let me get ready. The people who were worried about whether they were going to be laid off were like stuck in a state of suspended animation. So acceptance of the particular situation as a reality that can be improved upon, that can be worked with. Second key to handling worry and uncertainty. I call it the sharpen your axe. Invest in yourself. You always bring yourself to the party. Life is a party. You have to attend, but you always bring yourself to that party. As long as you're alive, you're in the party of life. That being the case, then there's nothing that you can do that is not impacted by you. So when I say sharpen the axe, to really put yourself in a position to handle whatever, to take care of your mind, your body, and your spirit, because we know this: if you are healthy, if you have a high energy level, then whatever it is, you're in a better position to deal with it. And see, this is something totally under our control. We have the power to give us the ability to relax. You know, we say, well, hey, man, tomorrow is going to be, oh, my goodness. We have the power to say, well, let me sit in the quiet of my consciousness and prepare myself so that tomorrow I can rise to the occasion, be victorious, and do great things. This idea of sharpening the axe is also from an idea of, you might say, personal development, personal growth. That when we recognize that we're on a constant path of evolution and growth, that we keep growing through situations, we become better and better, we know more, we experience more, we're capable of more, and we keep pushing our potential as we grow in our reality. When we realize that, then the whole idea of sharpening your axe and preparing yourself for whatever will be is a powerful tool to eliminate worry and handle uncertainty. Number 3, determine the worst possible outcome and resolve to accept it. When we were talking about the job thing, there were those who knew they were going to be fired and they were happy. There were those who weren't sure they were going to be fired and they were worrying. Well, those who were not sure could pass on now and eliminate that worry consciousness by saying, okay, what's the worst that can happen? I get fired. So let me plan from there. Let me resolve. If that's the worst thing that can happen, let me resolve to accept it and now go forth, handle it. This third key is very powerful because it is really a mindset. It is really an attitude. I like to think of it as the I'm good attitude. When you look at any particular challenge, if you have that attitude, whatever it is, I'm good. Whatever it is, it's going to bring out the best in me. Whatever it is, I will rise to the occasion and I'll be around tomorrow to move on to higher levels. The fourth key is, this is a powerful one now, to pay attention. You see, once we have accepted our situation, once we have prepared ourselves to do battle, put on that whole armor of truth and understanding, once we've looked at the worst possible outcome and say, hey, I can handle it, then pay attention. And this pay attention is powerful because you want to pay attention to 3 things. You want to pay attention to the future. Any challenge that confronts us, you must have a picture of how you would like your life to be if that challenge is handled. So if we're facing the challenge of a pandemic, how do you want your life to be when that challenge is handled? You want to be healthy. You want to have your home and have whatever the things are necessary for your safety, for your enjoyment. You want your family to be happy. You want everybody to be healthy and everybody accounted for. And so pay attention to how you want it to be because we are goal-seeking creatures. The scripture says, seek first, knock first, ask first. And so we are always in the prospect of going for it. We're always in the prospect of getting better. We're always in the prospect of rising up. But Maya Angelou says, still I rise. And we have to have that still I rise attitude. And so looking at the future to create the thoughts, the emotions, the habits, and the associations of how you would like it to be. Pay attention to the past. We often undervalue our accomplishments. You know, the fact that we are right here, right now, listening to this broadcast is a profound statement on your ability to survive. The fact that you're here and you're healthy and you're ready for the next chapter in your life means that you've already won. There are many people who are not here. There are many people who are not clear. So the fact that you're here and clear means that you have done things in the past to bring you to this present moment. So as you look at worry and uncertainty, look at the things that have worked for you in the past. So let's look at this is a great example. Okay. Now, this is not the first time I've had the power go out. Okay. But what I learned from the last times that the power went out is to have a hotspot. Okay. And not only have a hotspot, to have the hotspot charged. But what I have found is that when you don't use the hotspot for 6 months or so, even though it was charged at that point, the charge may have run down. So have a hotspot and have a source. Okay, have a source that you can plug the power in. So even if the power goes, to know that your battery in your computer is charged, to know that your hotspot is charged. I also have a backup. I have one of those things that you charge up that you can use to charge the charger. Okay. And so the whole idea of when we were talking about sharpening your axe is to use your experience now so that you are prepared for all the things that can happen. So when we look at this morning, the power went, the power is still out. Okay. And we had to skip some place, like we had not anticipated it, but we could drop right into, you might say, the 2-minute drill. And that's why habits are so important. So the 2-minute drill are these little things that you don't know how to do to handle uncertainty, to handle things that you could worry about. So when I went into the 2-minute drill, bingo, we're here. We didn't get on Instagram. The power was not able, we're not able to switch that over. Now this is a very interesting thing. If I had been aware, but they didn't, the thing just blew a few minutes before we were to go on. And if I were more aware, I could have transformed and done the things on my settings on the cell phone so that Instagram could be coming through the hotspot. But it's all about setting your priorities. I knew that those of you who are right here on Facebook, those of you who are in our group who are participating, I have a time that I have to be there. And so when you make these decisions to deal with uncertainty, you base them on your past experience, you base on your future potential and what you want to be. And most of all, you act now. So pay attention to the present. So what thoughts must you have that you can execute right now to get through the uncertainty? What emotions must you have that you can handle right now to get through the uncertainty? What habits, what modus operandi must you have so that you can follow that right now to get through the uncertainty? And of course, the people around you. Who do you have to be there to help you get through the uncertainty? So pay attention. Number 5, stop looking for someone to save you. Whenever there is uncertainty in going forward, whenever there's a possible situation of worry, many times we have a tendency to wait for somebody else to come and fix it, to wait for somebody else to come and save us. And that can be a serious trap, folks, because number one, the people you're waiting to come for you, the people you're waiting to come for you may be waiting for you to come for them. That's deep, isn't it? The people you're waiting on to save you are waiting on you to save them. Guess what? Everybody drowns. When we look for other people to rescue us, it's a very delicate thing because there are a lot of people who love rescuing people. But it may not be out of a desire to help. There's some people that love rescuing people so they have something to talk about. I guarantee you have some friends or some relatives, especially family members, who whenever they rescue you, they remind you of this rescue situation forever and ever and ever. So when we wait for other people to rescue us, we're literally giving up on ourselves. We have to have an if it's to be, it's up to me attitude. There are people that can truly help, but what you'll find is the people who, and they don't really come to rescue you, they come more to guide you. People don't say, well, let me do it for you. Here, let me put you on the ship. Then they'll say, no, let me show you how to swim to safety. Turn left, turn right, swim harder, swim slower. The sixth key to dealing with worry and uncertainty is to practice living one day at a time. I look at many of the 12-step programs to overcome, any particular addiction. And one of the key points is the step by step to deal with today. That if we can string enough of today's together where we accomplish our goals, where we do what we're supposed to do, where we accomplish the things we set out to do and we're supposed to do, that everything will be taken care of. Well, when we practice living in day-tight compartments, then our commitment to ourselves that each day to do what must be done to achieve the things we desire to achieve. That focusing on the future for where we want to be, focusing on the past for the experience to get us there, but focusing on the now, today, as the time to take action. You see, only today can you use God's most powerful gift. And that's the gift of time and life. So you can only use the time now. Time is a very present concept that has value at this moment. So when you practice living one day at a time, you literally ask yourself, what is the best use of my time right now to help me get to my goals, my vision, and my purpose, and then you act accordingly. Finally, number 7, find meaning in the chaos. So what do you mean? That everything happens can be seen on different levels. We look at the pandemic, for example. It's not a good thing. People are dying. It's terrible. Okay. But when we look back, it's happened before. Okay. There was the pandemic of 1918. It's happened before in the Dark Ages. You look at in the Dark Ages with the plague, the Black Plague. A third of the population was wiped out in Europe. So when we look at the big picture and say, hey, these pandemics are part of the evolution of life. Now, why they come about and whatnot, that may be debatable. But when we look back over history, this has happened many times before. And so even this will pass away. So even this, the fact that it's happened, there must be a reason for it's happening, and it's to find meaning for whatever that situation is, whether it's the pandemic, find meaning for being fired from your job. Find meaning for all of the challenges of life, because the moment you begin to find meaning from it, it develops clarity and you can move through it. This idea of finding meaning in the chaos embodies two very, very powerful concepts. Faith. Remember we talked about that? It seems that man is a unique being and that we're the ones that require faith. I don't know. I've never been a bird. I don't understand the consciousness of a bird, but it seems to me that the birds are able to do whatever they have to do whenever they have to do it. See, I've known that the birds can fly 5,000 miles from one place to another and end up within 500 feet of where they started from with no GPS. Okay. I know that the animals, the plants, are able to do incredible things. Seems that faith is something that's very unique to man, to mind. Those of us, as the scripture says, created in the image of God. So finding meaning in the chaos is about having total faith that all is well. Having total faith that whatever happens to you, when you can frame it so that you say, hey, what is the good lesson for me to learn from this experience? What is the good message for me to get from this experience? What are the good thoughts that I can glean from this experience? What are the good emotions that can help me move through this experience? What are the habits that will give me the modus operandi to get through this experience? Once again, when you seek it, you find it. So when you just assume and know that there's meaning to the chaos, then you know that there's always an answer. What positive outcome would you like to see as a result of this particular experience? I know many people coming through the pandemic, they say, well, folks are not coming back to work. And why is that? Well, some folks say, well, let's cut off the unemployment. But they've done a few studies and they've shown that really when they cut the unemployment benefits, it has not caused that spike in people coming back to eat. You know, many times the system treats us like we're animals, you know, like Pavlov's dog, that we're always salivating. But there's another spiritual thing taking place. That there's some people that as a result of this isolation of the pandemic, they got a chance to meet somebody they'd never met before. Their real selves, who they really are. And so whatever the experience, whatever the outcome, whatever the circumstances that could create worry, that could create uncertainty, to always know that uncertainty is a part of the game. Just another lesson to be learned, to be dealt with, and to grow through. So let's summarize, folks. Whew, thank you so much for being here today. I tell you, I love life. Living it is a great thing, isn't it? So let us go back over these 7 steps that help us deal with worry and uncertainty so that we can always be victorious and end up where we want to be, doing what we want to do, having whatever we want to have. Number 1, don't resist. Let's make that positive. Accept the particular circumstances, knowing that you can improve upon them. Number 2, invest in yourself to always be in a period of personal growth, of learning more, of becoming more, of being exposed to more, of becoming a better person. Oprah says, when you know better, you do better. Number 3, whatever the situation that you're facing, determine the worst possible outcome and resolve to accept it. Number 4, pay attention. Pay attention to the future. Create the vision of that you want to be, do, and have. Focus on it. Give energy to it. Pay attention to the past. The good things that you've done in the past, all the things that worked for you, so that you have a library, a set of vibrations on which to build. And then pay total attention to the present. Presence, the only time that you have to actually make the choices to change the future. Number 5, stop looking for someone else to rescue you. Let's flip that. Take personal responsibility to save yourself. Take personal responsibility to get through whatever the challenge is victoriously, with total faith that you can do it. Step 6, to practice living one day at a time, to understand the value of now, the power of nowness. That in each moment of every day, you have the power of choice to choose what to do, what to think, what to feel, and how to do it in that particular moment. When you live one day at a time, knowing that you did everything you could with what you had to do it with to make tomorrow the way you want it to be. And then finally, always find meaning. Always look for the big picture. When we look at the macroscopic world, the big picture, we see that many of the things that look like problems on a small scale are just a natural evolution on a big scale. We can be standing at the forest and be complaining that because of these big old tall trees, you can't see anything. But we can raise our level of consciousness another 200 feet. And now instead of a wall, it becomes a carpet. We see this beautiful carpet of trees. It's all about perspective, how we see it, and how we be it. Wow. So when we can do these things, We can be what we want to be. We can do what we want to do. We can have whatever we want to have, always knowing that the best is yet to come. So it is. Let's just take a deep breath. Thank you so much for being with us each and every day, each and every way. Thank you so much for sharing your time. And those of you who are watching and who will watch this, say, well, what I want you to do, I've heard this message, what would I love for you to do? What I'd love for you to do is send me an email. Right now, we're getting ready to put together a new book. You know, one of the great things about the Super Achiever edition of the 12 Universal Laws of Success is we have a lot of people. We have over 30 people who've written portions there sharing how the 12 Universal Laws of Success has impacted their lives and saying some of the things that they want to be doing, have. And so we're going to be putting together something very similar right away. And so those of you, you'd like to be a part of what we're doing, a part of sharing your aspects and your growth and how you've been able to use the 12 Universal Laws of Success to transform your lives, please email me, Herbert, Herbert, at herbertharris.com, and let me know that you're interested in telling your story about your success. Once again, folks, Dr. Herbert Harris saying, thank you for joining us. Remember this, the best is yet to come. And so it is.